Hey everybody, I've got a question. How do I stop procrastinating? This is Jason Hodge, and today I'm starting this new topic right here, and I'm trying something new actually on this broadcast. I've added some music, some bells, and some whistles, so let's see how that works out as we talk about how do I stop procrastination. Okay, so we're going to be talking about 3 key points. I'm going to keep it very short because I've got another call that I've got to be on in less than a half an hour. So I rode this thing right up to the edge here, and I want to make sure that I can talk about this stuff and get the goods out there to you and hit my call on time and be prepared for the call. So I've got a lot on my plate. Let's see how this works out. Okay, here we go. So now we're talking about how do I stop procrastination, right? How do I stop procrastinating? Now, I've got 3 key things that you can do right now, and they're simple yet very profound. So let's talk about them. First thing, now I hope that you have a pen and a paper out or something to write with, or maybe a wall that you can graffiti on. Here's the thing. Okay, be fearless. That's number 1. The second one, which is probably one of the biggest things that I'm afraid of, right, is to accept imperfection. And the last one is to move the do line forward. Okay, we talk about in marketing the free line. Well, I made up something new, and it's called the do line, moving the do line forward. And that is the things that you do based on what you say. Okay, so let me start breaking these things down now. I'm going to shut the door on my kids' room here. I'm a little loud, and they're sleeping. Woo-hoo. Although I had them up kind of late last night, so they're probably not waking up anytime soon. I could probably put a hurricane through here, and they would not wake up, which is good. This is the great thing about wearing your kids out when you're homeschooling. You get to have them sleep in and get a lot of stuff done early morning hours. So maybe maybe I should put that down on the list. If you have kids, wear them out. That'll help you stop procrastinating. Okay, so the first thing is being fearless. Okay, what about fearlessness that we have to focus so much attention on? I mean, I keep on hearing fear. What about fear is holding you back? Well, for me, one of the things, and I had to isolate this, is that I used to be so afraid, and not the fear like, you're afraid of a scary monster, but it was more like a external experience. Let me explain that. Okay, I grew up in a family where, it was just important to get things right. It wasn't necessarily imposed upon us. But like my mom didn't say, you've got to get this thing perfect, right? It was more of an internal thing. And I think also an observed response. I observed relatives, mom included, everybody doing things at such a high level. And they probably observed their parents or parental units or whatever and family doing things at such a high level. And maybe the unspoken or the spoken criticism on things that weren't done like at the highest level or the comparative study caused there to be this rift between actually getting things done and worrying about, okay, but are they done right? So the analysis paralysis would kick in order to make sure that all the T's were crossed, all the I's were dotted, in order to make sure that this thing was technically perfect before getting it out of the door. So I'm saying right now that you have to be fearless and moving right into the second thing, accepting imperfection. Now, I know this might be hard. For me, it was a big thing. Big deal. Accepting imperfection. Like, for example, there is no way that I would have ever said, I'm going to just do these things live. No scripting, no preparation, no of the norm that I would go through in order to put out a broadcast. I mean, usually with a broadcast, I'd sit there and say, okay, so let me see, what's the timing on this going to be? How's this going to work? You know, I'd be sitting there putting everything together. I'd rehearse it over and over and over and over again in order to make sure that when I hit the record button, for one, it wasn't going live. But the second thing is that I was recording to edit. And then I would take that finished piece, turn around, and then edit it for hours and hours, sometimes days, depending on how complex the project was. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. There isn't. But there is something wrong with it when it keeps you from actually getting your stuff out to market and getting stuff done. Here's the problem. You don't really know what your market will stand and what they're going to care about, what they're going to accept, what they're going to long for, until you put something out there, test the water, and figure out, hey, is this going to go over well or not? Another thing is that when you're looking to endear yourself to your marketplace, if you are not willing to be vulnerable and to let them see you, warts and all, if you have warts, if you do, there's some medication for that. I'm trying to see if I can get you a link for that or something. But warts and all, calluses, whatever, you have to be able to put your stuff out there for them to say, hey, you know what? That sounds really good. However, have you thought about doing it this way? Now, let me tell you something that is extremely powerful when you allow your community to participate in your building process. What it does, there's a study that was shown that folks develop love based out of what it is that they work towards, not what it is that they get. So you'll see that, mapped out in many different aspects of life. I'll tell you a few great examples. Okay, for one, I had an aloe vera plant. May the Lord rest its soul. It's dead now. I had an aloe vera plant that when I was younger, I was in elementary school at the time. This plant was red. That's how dried out it got. And then I decided that I was going to take this plant and I was going to do everything that I could humanly possible to bring it back to its full-fledged greenness, plump leaves and aloe vera juice just bursting on the inside, right? So I went ahead and every day on my way to school, I was in elementary at the time, on my way to school, I took it from the backyard, and we were living in the valley at the time. It was very hot. I mean, we would get into 3 digits and all of that during the summer times. And this is what was my norm. I don't know how I survived it living up here in the Pacific Northwest. Now, when I go into California now, I feel like I'm in an oven. And I still, for the life of me, can't figure out how I survived that. Anyway, so here it is. On my way to school in the morning time, I would take a little container of water, and I would just drizzle it over my aloe vera plant. And I noticed within about a week, it started to green up again. And so then I would just continue this process. It got to the point where it greened up. Those leaves, instead of being dried out and looking like cactus and the leaves and stuff that those agave leaves all dried and, compressed. They plumped out like aloe vera is supposed to. And then the plant began to just grow, just to blossom, to the point where we had to eventually transplant it, move it into a bigger pot, and then finally it went into the ground. Well, when we moved from that house, now of all the plants that were there, and there were a lot, I specifically went and dug my aloe vera plant up. Because there was no way that I was going to leave my plant to some stranger to raise. I said, oh no, I nurtured this plant. This plant was not only my mission, but I love this plant. Right? I mean, it sounds crazy, but this is exactly what happened. And I'm explaining this because I want you to understand that the things that you pour your blood, sweat, and tears into are the things that develop love. You develop a love for those things. And when you develop a love for those things, you begin to protect those things. You begin to nourish them. You pour even more into it. It's like a magnet, a perpetual love machine, right? And so after that point, and I'm now going to relate this to the community that you allow to see your imperfections, your areas that need help, the areas that could use a little input here and there. Now, granted, you may be able to do all of this stuff with your eyes closed, your hands tied behind your back, but that's not the point. Because if you can get in there and do everything perfectly, and you just show up, ta-da, here I am, well, you haven't really put any skin in the game. You haven't developed the relationship with your community to where they even feel that you are approachable. So if you're not approachable, how do you expect to engage with them and ultimately to sell them something if you're looking to monetize your community? Which, if you're in marketing, if you are doing anything online and you have a business, I wouldn't see why you wouldn't be looking to add value to your community and get an equal exchange in monetary benefits. Okay? Basically, why you wouldn't be looking to get some cash from that. All right. If you're delivering value to your marketplace and you're bettering their lives, you should be positioning yourself in order to get the benefits, to reap the benefits, the rewards of pouring graciously into people's lives. So by your allowing them to see you at these beginning stages and then to give you pointers to engage, to involve themselves and to feel that they are a part of your success, a part of your building of this product, this project, whatever it is, then they develop a love for this thing as well. And it makes it that much easier in order to say, okay, now we have it at this point. I'm ready to put it on the market. Who's my buyers? And you start seeing hands raising in your community. Wow, yeah, I remember this when it started. Wow, this is really worth buying now. So, accept imperfection. It actually serves you better than coming to your marketplace already perfect. If you're building a community. Now, if you already are where you're supposed to be and you are going into somebody else's community, well, that's a totally different story. You come into their community with your act together. You, in your own community, you build in front of your community. It strengthens the bonds. Be fearless. We talked about that. Accept imperfection. We just talked about that. Last thing before we close this down is move the do line forward. I'll give you a perfect example of that. A matter of fact, it was a conversation that has lasted a couple of days. A friend of mine, we started talking about creating this project. Now, I have been on 2 broadcasts in a series on a journey, Meeting of the Minds, with Kimberly, the educated Natural Collins. Her and Jennifer Foxworthy do an incredible set of programs that, through Google Hangouts, and they tackle some deep, heavyweight issues and some lighter weight ones as well, from financial stuff to fatherlessness, which is what I participated in, right? Me, Rodney Kellum, and Arian Tyson, 2 gentlemen who I admire and respect a great deal. Rodney Kellum, he's of fatherpreneurship.com. And Arian, let me see. Arian. Okay, you know what? I'm going to have to come back and give you Arian's information because he's got some good stuff too. He's very inspirational. I'll actually put a link to his stuff when I post this show. Anyway, all of that said, as we were sitting here talking or messaging, because they're in different states, on this new project, there were all of these things that came up in the midst of the conversation. And so every time something came up, I've been in this mindset now for the past couple of weeks or so. No more talking. Let's do it. Let's get things into motion, get things into action. I'm not talking about the fatherlessness thing. I'm talking about this other project that came up yesterday. And so here it is. Now we're sitting there going back and forth, and all of the things that technically, yes, if we were creating the technically perfect arena we would need, that was what was put on the table. Oh, well, we're going to need this. Oh, okay, well, the cameras, the perfect this, the perfect that, the perfect the other. And so my response was, no, we don't need that. We really don't need that. All we need is the story, the intention, and hitting the go button. All the other stuff, we can pick that up on the way. Reason being is that if the nature of the content is strong enough, your audience will forgive even bad audio. Trust me on this. If your information is good enough for folks to travel to get to you, they will forgive even bad audio. I know it's a taboo thing that is said in marketing and business. Oh, well, you could have bad video, but better not have bad audio. That's utter garbage. I say it like that because it's true. Because let me give you a great example. You've got a person who is dying of thirst in the desert, and you happen to walk by and you happen to have a bottle of water. Now, the water itself is not the purest water. It really isn't. And, it's got sand mixed in with it and all of that. And the person is dying of thirst, though. Now, is that person, when you offer them some water, are they going to look at you and say, oh my gosh, this water, it's unclean. It's no way I can drink that water. I mean, it's got sand in it, for goodness sake. No, they're not going to say that. I don't even think they're going to say thank you initially. I think they're going to grab the water, guzzle it down as fast as they can to get it into their systems, and they'll think about the other stuff later. Maybe after they have satiated themselves with water and they're satisfied where they no longer are in the balance of life and death, that would probably be the time when they start looking and saying, oh, that's got sand in it. But not while they're starving or dying of thirst. When they're dying of thirst, they're drinking that water. And so when you come to your marketplace and they are dying of the proverbial thirst because they haven't had good information, good content for so long, they've had all of this fluff garbage that is being sent to them over the time, and they're finding things are not working in their business because they're listening to the wrong information. If your thing comes over staticky, garbly, and all that, and they can make out every other word, but every other word is golden, and it's going to help them, they're not going to care what it sounds like. Trust me. So that is back to embracing the imperfections and moving the do line forward. So instead of sitting thinking about it, planning it, making sure that you got everything crossed and dotted, all of the blueprints just perfect, forget about all of that and hit the do line. Kick it into gear. Pull the trigger. Make it happen. Because if it is good enough, they're going to forgive it. If it's bad enough, they're going to let you know, and that's going to be a part of the relationship building process. Because you're going to ask them, hey, what did you think about this? What areas do you think I can improve on? What did you take away from this? Did you feel the information was valuable? Was I too much or too little? Was it fluff or was it, heavy hitting? What do you think? You ask those questions. And when you have a relationship with your audience, they will answer those questions. So I wanted to give you that information. And also, I wanted to invite you, if you are anywhere near my vicinity online, and of course that's tongue in cheek, because you are near my vicinity online, because you're hearing this broadcast right now, I'm inviting you, pop on over, go to bit.ly/2hacks. Again, that's bit.ly/2hacks. That's HACKS. This is Jason Hodge giving you another broadcast and kicking my procrastination in the butt. I will see you later on. You have a good one.